Hello everyone, and if it feels like we've been here before, well, we have. Yes, we have some news regarding the, I don't know at this point, 8th Siege rework for Warhammer 3. Well, Creative Assembly did a small stream on their Total War Live channel. This was Josh, the creative manager, and Steve, one of the community managers, talking about soup for most of it. Well, random stuff, and a very weird campaign. But hey, they're having fun, and yes, some questions did get answered. Not a lot in this stream, because it was like a hangout thing rather than an actual community stream, as we're kind of used to. I know that sounds weird, but like if you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. But a few things were answered. I want to play a clip and just kind of stop at any place which is quite important and talk about these things because it's about the Siege rework, when it's going to come, or when their intention is for it is to come, which doesn't fill me with a lot of like hope. And yeah, the rest. Let's go into it, right?
So on those two topics, because I know these are those two topics being Siege and campaign AI, I know I get a lot of questions about this, and I know that it is an ongoing thing that you guys are waiting for information on. The general gist is that the Siege stuff is still in progress. The goal is going to be, or our intention is to have the Siege update rolling out in summer, around summertime. So it will be around end times. Whether that is just before in a patch, or if it's just after in a patch, or if it's in 9.0 alongside end times, we don't know yet, but that is what our current goal is with it. So hopefully we'll have some more info to share on that in the near future.
So summer, around the time of the end times, maybe before, maybe during, maybe after. So there's a few things that we do need to talk about here because it's quite important. One, the Siege beta was in August of last year. It's been almost a full year. Summer is, what, July, August, September? So it might just be a full-on year. I find it kind of weird that it's taken so long to get a Siege rework out. Well, the 4th or 5th or 20th Siege rework, because there has been quite a few attempts at fixing up Sieges, and they do come into it saying that yes, these things do take some time, and they're trying to make sure that, you know, they're going to constantly fix it, so if something doesn't work, they're going to jump right in and do it again, or whatever. That's perfectly fine, and it just feels odd for a flagship title. What concerns me a little bit here is a Siege rework at the same time as the Lords of the End Times might be a bit too much. There's always chances for extra bugs when too much is packed in. However, if they're feeling quite confident, great. But we've been around this rodeo before, which does bring me a little bit of fear. I'm hoping at the very least, since it's taken over a year, that all the fixes that we saw during the beta aren't the only things that we're going to be seeing. That did not really solve all the problems with sieges. In fact, the removal of butt ladders and the introduction of those siege ladders did in fact bring in some other issues where the AI just flat out did not know how to act if you destroyed certain ones, and they started conga lining, which is something that they're sorting out for the battle stuff now, but we have to see how that goes with those ladders. I really hope they haven't gone just with, oh, we solved it for the battles, it's going to be fine with the sieges. The shitty AI does not solve all the problems with sieges too, so I'm hoping that they're looking at every single issue. The fact that Bretonnia has the same two maps over and over, Tomb Kings, certain factions like the Skaven, you know, very popular ones that you're going to see quite often, and yet it's the same maps. It leads to visual fatigue, which also leads to just general battle fatigue. All that stuff needs to be taken into account. Sure, I'm not expecting that at the release of whatever this siege patch ends up being, but I'm hoping that that's still there. They can't just go, okay, sieges work as intended now. Yeah, we're done. You know? That's the last thing I want. And it's something that stays in the back of my mind. When does Creative Assembly see the sieges as done? I'm hoping we won't have to wait too long until we actually get some actual meaty information regarding the siege rework, because a lot of people have been asking constantly. It's not just on their streams, it's on their videos, it's everywhere. It sucks that it's just quiet, but I'm guessing it's because they haven't locked down certain things. So yeah, you know, the inconsistent siege attacker trait, I'm still very much against Lords losing that. The legendary Lords should still have siege attacker because it's going to slow down the campaign. It's a very odd thing. It's very, very odd. I know some people would be like, oh, they could just have certain armies like some do already with some siege attacker units, but newer players will suffer from that. We have to take newer players into account for this too. But let's continue because there is more to talk about here.
Regarding campaign AI, they are making some really great headway on the stacking armies issue, which I know is the main bugbear. Yep. I don't have info on when it's going to come out or when it's going to be added into the game, but it is going to be sometime after Bashiva's character pack and the Tiger Woods. It's not going to be. It's unlikely that it's going to come in 8.0. So it's just to kind of give you that expectation now.
So the stacking armies problem has been going on forward, which keep in mind, they delayed Tides of Torment for that specific reason, yet it wasn't really fixed. So was it delayed because of that, or was it because they needed time for Tides of Torment? Which, I mean, if they needed time for Tides of Torment, that would have been perfectly fine, right? I think that's a non-issue. At the end of the day, the DLC came out in a pretty good state, actually. I had a lot of fun with it, and that's what we want. So, if it's the case that this is going to come out, it's going to be after Bashiva. Now, we know that we're going to be hearing about Bashiva around mid-April, they said, I think. So, I wouldn't expect it to release around until the end of May. Creative Assembly love doing late releases when it comes to DLCs, and I think that's actually just because it's like, end of the month, it's just easier to handle. Maybe there's less workload for devs on other projects, so it's easy just to kind of go, okay, can you come here and do some last minute fixes because we need some help. We do know that Creative Assembly bounces around from time to time from different projects, and that's not really a Creative Assembly thing. That's like every game studio, so it's perfectly fine. But it feels weird that they've kind of taken their time on this. You'd think it would be a Category A or Category 1 issue, like they said. Naturally, they can't stop working on DLCs, but like many have said, we can have fixes and DLCs, right? This isn't so much of an issue to veteran players like yourself, but newer players, anyone who might be listening, they will have problems trying to attack settlements like that. They will, because it's not an easy thing to push in. A lot of your players don't know, like, Lightning Strike is very useful in that regard, or having multiple armies. Some of them, like, I've seen some streamers, I try to watch some streamers when I'm, like, painting and stuff, and yeah, the army composition for newer players when they start streaming it and stuff, it is pretty weird in that regard, right? Either way, I wonder when this is going to hit. Obviously, the plan isn't to hit it around the same time as Lords of the End Times, or they would have said that. I think fixes like this should be their own dedicated patches, right? It's probably better than launching alongside a DLC. So ultimately, this is probably the best thing to happen, but we're going to have to wait and see as to when it actually comes. I understand that some people might see some frustration because, like, Steve didn't really give a ballpark or whatever, but he can't. It's that simple. Something could go wrong before that happens, and then people are going to shit on him, and that's not really fair on Steve.
And I think people can see as well, like, when there are AI things that have been made and improvements that have been made or issues that have been fixed, we are still putting those out. We're not kind of holding on to them, right? So the battle stuff that they can see is pour for that continued work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's anything that we do that is a win that we know is working gets rolled out. We're not holding on to anything. The changes that have been made recently that look really good are currently in internal testing. And like what we said in January, initially the team that were working on it made really good headway on it. But then we started this intensive testing. And during that testing, it came to light that the fixes weren't actually having enough of an effect. So we had to go back to the drawing board. But now, like I say, that process has continued. They've made more improvements to it that are looking good, and that testing process is currently underway.
Yeah, I think they're going over the battle stuff more than anything else here. So they started heavily testing in January, which was after the release of Tides of Torment, and it wasn't up to snuff. Okay, cool. I mean, a blog post for that would have been kind of good, just kind of go into detail as what they tried and why it didn't work. Could have been kind of useful. Doesn't really take away from a dev too much. The idea there is like, okay, cool. Things are still progressing. They've realized that they went wrong there. It's kind of like what happened with when they delayed Tides of Torment the first time, right? It was the whole, it wasn't ready. And I feel like that's kind of good. Having a conversation like that is actually quite important. again, their blog is probably the most powerful tool in terms of getting communication out. No disrespect to Josh and Steve and stuff, but like, you know, the stream had like 70 viewers peak. Twitch had like 100. It's not a lot of communication. After that, it's, you know, what gets put on the Reddit or what gets spoken by news channels like myself. But the blog will hit the majority of the players who are pretty curious, I'm assuming, about these issues. A core fundamental issue with Warhammer 3, which has been affecting the game now for a pretty long time. Sieges since the beginning. These battle things, I think more 2 years now? Yeah, about 2 years. It comes and goes.
Yeah, it's the case of we don't want to keep pinging back and forth of has it been fixed? Oh no, there's still an issue here, and we want to make sure every update is an iterative and feels like an iterative improvement on it.
Yeah. If we keep rolling it out when we think we fixed it and it turns out it's not, we're going to cause more issues than good.
Which is what has been going on for the past few years. I mean, it's definitely better now. I haven't had too much time to play with 7.2 because, to be fair, I've been like pretty swamped. But this seems good. I haven't really seen much complaining, and that's a good thing. If the battle fixes have been doing better things, that's good. But that whole thing of like, oh yeah, you know, keep rolling it out until it gets fixed, that's been a problem. But yet they did say that the Siege rework could take a few different patches unless they've decided, fuck it, let's do everything in one go.
So the testing for this is probably a little bit more extensive than our normal bug fixes would have, purely to ensure that we've covered all bases. And but I'm glad to say that they're making headway on it. Like, I'm really looking forward to them to being able to tell you guys that, hey, this is done. You know, this is sorted.
What happened to my Beast of Nurgle? Did I just put him somewhere to die?
Yes, you did, Josh. But look, I mean, this sounds better. It looks like there's a lot of headway going on, which is good. I am kind of curious because obviously, didn't Roger say that there was going to be like another beta test or something? Is there not going to be a beta test now? Is there just going to be a focus on getting this done before showing it off? I feel like the betas were a pretty good way of showing it off. Because it allowed for people to voice concerns. I know I voiced a lot of concerns because within an hour I kind of broke the AI, and that wasn't even trying. It was just like trying to defend my walls. This is a thing. If a Siege rework comes into effect, it needs to target a lot of stuff. Same thing with the battles, but defending the walls, bit of a key factor. The visual issues, just the visual fatigue, AI responsiveness, AI pathfinding, all that stuff is very, very important. Not only for sieges, but battles too, right? Like, AI pathfinding hasn't been great. Hopefully it's better now. Apparently it is a little bit better now. Yeah, I do feel like the beta system did a lot of good. It's a bit of a weird thing that we need a beta, but it's such a popular game. People are going to be able to find how to break it in so many different ways. I still don't agree that this should come out at the same time as the patch. I don't think that the Siege rework coming out at the same time as Lords of the End Times will do any good. I think that it will likely lead to more errors, whether that be with the rework itself or with potential stuff with the DLC. Happy to be proven wrong, though, because at the end of the day, you know, I want this game to be as great as possible. But we've seen this happen before, and I'm kind of just a little bit concerned. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this, and let's start a bit of a discussion. Obviously, this has been something that we've all been kind of waiting for. It's just weird that we had to wait a full year, essentially. Well, more, considering the constant reworks and updates. It's such a shame. I guess Warscape is basically just not able to handle this. We do have Warcore to look forward to, and hopefully things will be better for that. But it sucks that it's going to be for the new games and not for this one too. But yeah, have a good day, everyone, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye.